rather than read from the book, I thought I would talk a little bit about the book. It's my fourth novel, and it's, I guess if it was a child, it would be like that one child that you just, if I can just get it through high school, just stop hanging around with the wrong kids, you know, just get them to pass English and just, you know, get them through the door. So Big Town for me was a really difficult book to write. It was, none of my books have ever taken a straight trajectory from idea to publication. They always take this very strange, convoluted route, and Big Town was probably the most strangest of all. It was to be my follow-up novel after Miss Elva. I wanted to do another sort of maritime theme, but I didn't want to do another, you know, I didn't want to write about boats and fish and, you know, laundry on the line, that kind of thing, because Donna Mercy does it really well. And so when I first moved here from Montreal in 1986, and I would hear about Africville in the news, and I was working out at the airport at the time, and I would ask my coworkers, well, what is Africville? It was black slum on the North Shores of Halifax. But I would keep hearing about it. I'd hear about Minnie Carberry, you know, protesting, and you know, and I'd hear about the reunion. I thought, you know, for a slum, there seems to be a lot more to this story. And I thought the name was quite poetic. And so I always thought that I would like to tackle the subject, but I know, you know, I knew how sensitive it was. And I know that tackling a subject where a lot of people are still alive today who experienced Africville, and so there was that sort of thing in the back of my mind. But after Miss Elva came out, I thought, well, I think this is a subject I'd like to tackle, and I wrote this book, and initially I was really happy with it, and I passed it off to my agent, who said, oh no. No, this isn't working. So I rewrote it 3 times altogether, and each time I rewrote it, I told it from a different point of view. And each time I reworked the book, it just spun wildly out of control, so that by the 3rd time I had written the book, you know, it's just, this is a real mess. I've just got to put it away. But it was just one of those things that kept nagging at me, because I knew that, you know, the idea of Africville, the subject of Africville, especially in literature that hasn't really been tackled a whole lot, I thought, I know there's something here, I know there's a story here, and I know I can tell it. I'm just not telling it the right way. And so I just kind of, I put it away. The next time I dragged it out was when I was having my kitchen renovated in a house in Dartmouth. And I thought, I'm going to take this manuscript and I'm going to put it in the wall of my house. So that 100 years from now, when they're tearing this place down or renovating it, they will pull out this manuscript and go, oh, wow, unpublished work, Gerard Malone. And so I did that. You know, they ripped up, opened the bulkhead in the kitchen, and so I got up there and I kind of tossed it in over the bathroom ceiling. And that night at about 3 in the morning, I had this panic attack because I thought, oh my God, what's going to happen 100 years from now is that they're going to find this book, they're going to publish it, and there'll be this newspaper article that says, lost manuscript, or manuscript hidden in house for 50 or 100 years, should have stayed hidden. I'm out again, you know. So at 3 in the morning, I'm up on the step ladder, fishing the manuscript out. And I thought, okay, well, that's that. And the next time Africville sort of came into my mind was last spring when the Writers' Union came here and did this symposium about, you know, writers in the digital age. They were going to give us all the tools we need to sort of make a lot of money as a writer. And I had the good fortune to be sitting at this table with Leslie Crew. And Leslie You know, she's a great person to sit at a symposium because, you know, it's like you're in grade 8 again, shooting spitballs, rolling your eyes, and when the Writers Union is telling us that, well, you know, you've got to spend more and more time with social media. You've got to do Twitter, you've got to do Facebook, and, you know, you have to, you know, in 140 characters, you have to let the world know every brain fart you're having when you're writing, that kind of thing. And then the other idea they had was, you know, well, be like a musician, you know, do your stuff and give it away free, like Stephen King does, because he can write a short story and post it, and, you know, he gets 150,000 downloads and people go up and buy his books. And I thought, well, I don't know many writers that can write a book, give it away free, and then go out and, you know, sell out a Coliseum at $7 a ticket, or even give it away free and make money out of it. But I said to Leslie, you know, okay, in the spirit of trying to do this, you know, maybe I should, you know, do something with a website and try and enhance what I'm doing between published books. I thought, I do have this manuscript about Africville. Maybe I could just take it out and serialize it. She said, yeah, that's a great idea. So I thought about it a little bit more, and I took out the manuscript, and I hadn't looked at it in about 5 years. And it was the first version, it was the very first version I did. And I remember being so proud of it, and, you know, and how disappointed I was when my agent didn't like it. When I took it out and read the first page, I thought, oh God, that's why I didn't like it. And I spent about a week and a half. Basically what I did was I redlined out my voice, was what I did. And what I was left with was the voice of Early, who is the main character. And that's when it dawned on me that this is the story I should have been telling all along. And so then I asked Leslie, I said, okay, you know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to post this on my website. I'll do it, you know, a chapter every month or so. I said, would you mind reading this and doing a blurb for me? And she said, yeah, sure. So I sent it off to her, and about 3 days later, I got a phone call about 9:30 at night, and she said, you can't give this away. She goes, I hope you don't mind, but I sent it to Patrick at Nibbles. And I thought, okay, well, all right. And I was very lucky that I found a home with Nibbles for Big Town. You know, because there's a lot of talk today about what's happening in publishing and how it's affecting things with ebooks and everything. But one of the things that we don't talk about, or we don't hear about too often, is the relationship between writers and editors. And I remember when I was a kid and I wanted to be a writer, and I remember reading these wonderful stories about, you know, Harper Lee and her relationship with her editor in New York, and a lot of other writers that were sort of, you know, they stayed with the same editor, and they just had this wonderful working relationship. And I remember doing a workshop at the Fed, and that's one of the things that, you know, unpublished writers ask a lot is, you know, how can you turn this over to somebody? And you know, because they assume that when they're done, they're done. Nobody's going to change a word in their manuscript. When you tell them that, you know, the book that you think is finished and the book that ends up on the shelf in the bookstore is going to be completely different, so be prepared. But if you're really, really lucky, you find an editor that gets what you're doing and really believes in the work and takes ownership of it. And it's a really remarkable experience when that happens. So I've been really lucky and blessed that after all of this time, that as Africville, as it was originally called, Big Town is going to find a home this fall. So.